Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's Luke 23:34.
All right. So Jesus is dying, right? He's on this cross. He's been put there by people that have not exactly treated him fairly. A mockery of a trial, abandoned by his closest friends, in excruciating agony, not just from the nails, but when you're crucified, it was one of the, if not the most painful way to die, because it was slow and agonizing, and you actually ended up suffocating to death, asphyxiation, which would ultimately lead to your heart kind of stopping, but you're filling with fluid. Your arms are up. You can't really breathe. You can't get out the carbon dioxide and in enough oxygen. Your diaphragm's not working because of the placement of your hands, and it's just a real miserable way to die. And this guy, one of the first things he's thinking is, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They don't know what they're doing. Forgive them. I mean, when was the last time you thought that about anybody?
I'm still kind of mad at the guy I was following over here that was driving too slow. Who had a bumper sticker that says something about tailgating. Something about tailgating, you're a loser or something like that on his car. I'm thinking, hey.
He's trolling you. Yeah. Rage bait. Yeah, most people like that are, they definitely, it's like they know what they're doing. You got the bumper sticker and everything. And even, somebody like that, we're still stewing over it. And it's probably not intentional. And Jesus here, all these insults being hurled at him, the humiliation, the pain and misery, the agony of abandonment and isolation. We'll talk more about that as we get to one of these other sayings, but he has enough clarity of mind, the presence of mind to say, the heart, the compassion to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's pretty amazing. I mean, that's the sweetness of Jesus. Obviously, you have to recognize at some point your need for forgiveness in order to appreciate this, but we're not going to go off into the evil stuff yet. So you got to recognize there's a need for forgiveness, but look at, if Jesus so readily offers forgiveness, what is it that you think could possibly be something in your life that could possibly be beyond forgiveness? There's nothing. Yeah. There's no way that anything could be beyond the forgiveness of Jesus. If in that moment, in this situation, these circumstances, the weight of the sin of the entire world being laid on him, Father, forgive them.
Because it seems if you read about the trial or just the whole time he was here, they were out to get him. Mm-hmm. So it's like they seemed to know what they were doing.
Yep.
In a sense. I mean, they didn't know the whole picture, obviously, right?
I mean,
or if they did, then I don't know.
I think there's a spot where in the Bible where Paul says something about himself, where he's like, and others, I think, where people think they're going to serve God. Maybe Jesus, I think Jesus says this too, where you think you're going to come after my followers. They're going to come after you. I think Jesus is warning his followers, his disciples. They're going to come after you, and they're going to try and kill you, or they will kill you, and they'll think they'll be doing a service to God. And Paul embodies that, where, I mean, he's giving approval to this stoning of Stephen. I'm doing God's work, right? So deluded into believing that they're doing the right thing, that they're serving God with all their heart and all their might, and God is just looking down with a giant smile on his face like, this is awesome.
Yeah, this guy's doing what I want.
So they know what they're doing, but they don't know what they're doing. They have intentionally done this. They've intentionally rigged the trial. They've gotten false witnesses, but it's, like for the sake of the nation. John's gospel talks about this, where the high priest has some prophecy where it's like, it's better for one man to, don't you realize that it's better for one man to die for the nation than that we should all die? And so they even view it as a sacrifice, in a sense, that this guy Jesus is causing so much trouble, it's going to upset the Romans, and the Romans are going to come after us and take away our place, take away our everything. And they're like, we got to kill this guy for the sake of all these people. Right? So they got it, and yet they don't got it. Which, by the way, we should all be very careful, especially us Christians, because these are the religious leaders, these are the religious people, these are the churchgoers, the faithful people that are just so absolutely certain that this is what God wants. This is God's plan. And it is, and yet it's not. It's like backwards, flipped upside down. It's just everything.
And I don't know if when they talk about, they'll try to blame one group or another group, but for actually, crucifying him, but the religious elite are involved, the Romans are involved. So the Romans are like the non-religious, the Gentiles or whatever, and then all the people that are just out in the court when all the trial and all that's going on. And like you said, his followers, his friends, they don't really do anything to try to stop it. So like there's no group of people, or all groups of people are represented in this group that's doing this. No, So if you were there at the time, you would have either followed the religious leaders, or you would have been a Roman, or you would have been some kind of crazy people in the crowd or whatever, or a friend that, so nobody gets off the hook for being involved in this, I guess.
Yeah, everybody's guilty. Even if you weren't there that day, you are guilty in the sense that your sin put him there. And if you were in that situation, you would have acted just like all these other people.
Right.
Just like a lot of people look back at the fall, the garden, right? Say, wow, if Eve wouldn't have been so stupid, or if Adam wouldn't have been so stupid, or no, if you were there, you would have done the same thing. And that's why we're all guilty. And that's why the sin of Adam, we are responsible for it. We do have to pay the price, so to speak, of death as a result. And but that the flip side is also true, that when Jesus does the right thing applies to others, right? That's actually Romans 5, I think, goes into that a little bit, where if by one trespass all men are guilty, well, then by the one act of righteousness, true righteousness, they all are made righteous. So, but you're forgiven. And you may underestimate your need for forgiveness, but if you are willing to just receive it and acknowledge it and thank God for the forgiveness that has been offered through Jesus for your sins, I think you'd be amazed how freeing it would be. Like, I think we are wrapped up and bound by guilt and shame far more than we realize. It's far more significant. It's underneath the surface, perhaps. But we are actively trying to suppress that feeling, that knowledge, because it's kind of miserable to think about you being terrible.
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was watching the news, and they were talking about some criminal did something. It's not really important exactly what it was. I guess it was something pretty heinous, but there was like a panel of people, and they were talking about, yeah, this guy is a this, and he's a that, and he killed somebody, or it's probably somebody who killed somebody. Yeah, he killed somebody, and he did this and that. I don't know what made me. Maybe it's just this week, but it's like, can you? And he should have never gotten out, or maybe or it was one of those situations. I don't remember all the details, right? But yeah. I said, just think, if you went around and everything that you did wrong was in this cloud, like a cartoon, the bubble, or like you wore a shirt that was like a billboard, and everything
written on it.
Everything that you did wrong and it just kept scrolling everywhere you went in public. Everybody had this. And they go, oh, well, you're this, or you did that, and you could look at them. They would look at you going, yeah, but you. That's kind of what I felt. I mean, not to say this guy wasn't guilty or whatever that he did, but man, that would be hard.
Well, that's the downside. If you're a big law and order person, right? I mean, I believe we need law and order for sure. We got to follow the law, but until it applies to you.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's when, oh, come on, give me a break, man. Oh, really? Come on. It's just such a, we go there so quickly. It's unbelievable. It's a thing. It's a thing. You got to be careful. But yes, if we walked around with that, or it's a cloud or a shirt, whatever it is, we got a lot that we need forgiveness for, a lot that we need.
It'd be a big cloud, or a big cartoon bubble.
Yeah, I don't know if it fits on a cloud. It might take your entire life to cycle through
everything
on one of these things. But if you've got something that plagues you, that you think about often, that you continue to find yourself justifying yourself for, like, oh, but this, and then you get mad and hostile at the person, maybe in real life or in your head, that probably means there's guilt and shame underneath. Bring it to Jesus. Receive the forgiveness that he promises to give you, that he earned for you, and you'll have it. You will have it. He's freely given it right here.
Your big bubble will be empty.
And it will be like starting with a big bubble. Now, maybe you keep beating yourself up, but here's something. I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but Tim Keller talks about this a lot, and I always found it really profound. Because there are people that, this idea that, well, maybe they've forgiven me, but I can't seem to forgive myself. Mm-hmm. And there are people like that. But really what they're doing is they're saying, in a prideful way, that the forgiveness of this other person is not enough. Even God, even the forgiveness given by God because of Jesus, you're saying, oh, well, if you refuse to receive forgiveness and live in the freedom of forgiveness, what you're saying is the sacrifice of Jesus was not enough. And I can somehow merit the forgiveness. I'm earning it somehow by continuing to, beat myself up and continuing to go around, oh, I'm just so terrible. Oh, I'm just going to make my life awful because I can't possibly be a good person. Like this endless false humility in a sense, because it's not really humility. It's pride. It's saying, I'm going to achieve something by behaving this way that I couldn't achieve just by receiving the forgiveness of Jesus. So just receive the forgiveness. No matter what it is, it's available. Even that thing, yes, even that, and also that, and this other thing now that's coming up in your head. Yes, all of those things forgiven in Jesus.